welcome to NELSD's first professional development online. I'm Carly Stewart. I will be your moderator for today. Our sessions will normally begin at 4 p.m., but they will be archived. Let's agree to follow the following norms: that we will respect each other's opinions, agree to share and participate as we move through this, and that the culture of all our sessions will be in the interest of improving the learning environment of NELSD, not only for our students, but for ourselves as professional learners. If you're just sitting down or you are listening virtually for our virtual guests, please be sure to remove those distractions. Make sure that you've run that audio setup wizard. Select your headset for speakers and microphone. If you don't have a headset, feel free to participate in the chat window. I will try and check that as often as I can. I know sometimes that moves kind of fast, but we can look back at that and I'll try and answer all of your questions. Edit your profile with your name, position, and building, if you would, so that we know where everybody's coming at from across the district. We want to make sure that we're just going to relax and focus and take this in so that we can really enjoy our time together as professional learners. Try and forget about that stress of the day and focus on the task that we have before us this afternoon. Just want to review one more time the quality check to make sure that your phone is turned off. If you can shut the door to your classroom, or if you're at home, make sure you're in a place where you don't have any other distractions so that we can concentrate and be active learners all together. Be sure that you see that recording button at the top of the screen and the quality check. If you are a virtual learner, you might not see that recording, but make sure you see that quality check so that we're all on the same screen together. Be sure that you can hear. If you can't hear, please check your audio setup wizard one more time. I wanted to share with you an upcoming event that I am a part of. Everyone is invited to the first annual NELSD Film Festival. These are films. I have two topics that all students were welcome to participate in. It's going to be held in our main auditorium at 7 p.m. on Digital Learning Day. That's February 5th. This is our first year, but we have some extremely talented young filmmakers that we will be showcasing. Please come out and see what our students are creating. This year we selected two themes so that students had a choice. We've got Spirit, and then the other one was Make a Difference. So it's up to the students to develop their interpretation of the theme. They had to write a script and everything. I know that they really worked hard, and they would love to see you there. We're going to have a little premiere, a little reception. So that's on Digital Learning Day this year, and that is February 5th. So if you have a chance, please come out and join us. What our topic is today is the theory behind how we improve e-learning. So let's get started. When we reflect on the integration of technology in the learning environment, it was initially seen in the mid-90s with the continuing growth of the World Wide Web. Garrison has shared this with us, and he's developed this concept of the e-learner, whether in an asynchronous or synchronous arena, in an effort to develop a community of learners. In his book, E-Learning in the 21st Century, A Framework for Research and Practice, it explains that in our virtual community, the target of educational exchange has been the ability to transcend this restriction of time and distance. In the K-12 classroom, there's an opportunity for us to enhance our face-to-face interaction with online exchanges for rigorous learning outcomes. So how can this make us better teachers and learners? Well, first, I think we need to look at this illustration which represents the theory established by Randy Garrison, which incorporates these three elements that are needed for developing a successful e-learning experience. These three interconnected presences are social, cognitive, and teaching. I really do like this overall illustration too, because I think it really shows how that you need all of them to get that great educational experience there in the center. So what does this mean for us in the classroom? What is social presence? This is the act of our students being able to relate and communicate with the group in a productive way. Garrison goes on to say that often it's difficult for our students to connect in this way in an online forum, but it's also difficult for teachers to relate to their students in this area. In the cognitive presence, we're focused on what do we want our students to learn? How do we want students to learn? And in the end, what have they learned? When attention is given to social presence, cognitive presence is enhanced. And then finally, one of the large pieces of the puzzle is this teaching presence. According to Garrison, it is an element that unites with the social and the cognitive to create this community of inquiry. So right now, I'd like you to stop the recording, get out a piece of paper, or open a Word document in another window, and jot down some thoughts. Many of us are innovators in our buildings. We want to integrate technology into our classrooms, but we need to do it in a meaningful way. When you review the Community of Inquiry framework, reflect on you have already used this in your planning. Has it been successful? Has it always been successful? Have you missed applying one of the presences to create that successful lesson? Reflect and then come back when you're ready to continue. Okay, welcome back. Now that you have had some time to reflect, let's take a closer look at social presence. To make it clear that we have a good understanding and how to be more effective. We can find this at the beginning of the successful Community of Inquiry framework. For the framework to truly be successful, a balance needs to be established between the cognitive and social areas. Although research is still new and developing in higher education, more needs to be done. Lori Caudill addresses social presence in her article regarding professional development, just as we're experiencing today in our session. And before we go on, when we're talking about research, because I always have to do this, let me give a quick plug for Info Ohio, because it really helped me do my research. It's a wonderful tool for both you and your students. I know I'm always the big cheerleader for that, but in my brief research, I really could find little directly relating to the K-12 level. I found lots directed at the college level, so I think it's something that we need to focus on because it is our responsibility to prepare our students for the 21st century and support that college and career readiness skills. And I think this framework provides a great place for us to begin to engage and where we can guide our students to be successful. The two methods for delivery that we can see are asynchronous, where we as a teacher create the lesson and it can be viewed by our students at another time, or synchronous when we are communicating together just as we would in our classroom. This could be in the classroom or in an online format. In my opinion, most of us at the K-12 level would be more comfortable in the atmosphere where these approaches are blended. So social presence needs to be there to carry on. Even in the asynchronous way, we still have to make sure that we're engaging those community of learners. So in regard to critical thinking, cognitive presence is at its base. Garrison points out that this is the point where we know and what we want to know connects. As we are developing content, we can reflect on that practical inquiry model. So this model represents the four phases. The first, the triggering, where we focus on the problem or issue. The second, exploration. This would be the research phase. Third, we have integration, and this is where we develop a solution. And then finally, we have the resolution, which would be demonstrated by an individual or group project, some type of research paper possibly. And finally, we're going to take this a little bit closer look at teaching presence. I think we may assume that we understand what this means. Many of us have been in a traditional face-to-face classroom for years. But what does this look like in regard to e-learning? And I think that's where sometimes maybe the connection is lost. We always want to integrate technology, but we really need to look at this framework and make sure that we're touching on all those presences. According to Anderson, our role as a teacher falls into the following areas: design and organization, facilitator, and direct instruction. In my opinion, this is the same as our roles and responsibilities in the face-to-face classroom. In the model of the community of inquiry, everyone, student and teacher, has an effect on the teaching presence. As we all engage in this learning process, the more learners evolve cognitive and socially, the more equal we see each other in that teaching presence. I am going to stop here for a moment because there's another person in the forefront of this theory who has worked with Garrison a lot, and that's Norman Vaughn. And we're going to take a look at his
So one of the examples that I'd like to give in terms of a blended learning course is some of our English courses. And for me, this has been fascinating to see one of our introductory it's a composition course. And it's been fascinating for me because I think we all have challenges and issues with writing. And it's fascinating for me to watch how easy it is. Again, you can make quick videos now, or a lot of faculty are used to making voice recording podcasts. So it's interesting for me to see a faculty member in a face-to-face session very quickly finding with a group of students where the key issues are, the things like that, and then being able to follow up after class with podcasts, even video presentations about writing compositions. The key I really find for blended learning, though, is connecting what takes place face-to-face and what takes place online. And again, we always need a plan going into this, but the wonderful thing with blended learning, it allows us to be quite flexible. And again, every group of students is going to be unique, so we're going to need to approach those students in a different way. So with a lot of composition courses, there's things taking place online, but they're meant to help students move forward with their writing. And then often what happens with these composition classes, they become more of writing studios. But again, it's just not the faculty member or the instructor being the guide on the side, because they've had a chance to see the students writing or samples of the writing before the students come in for the writing workshop, so they know where the key issues and areas are going to be. So it allows them, rather than just being up on a stage, to circulate with students, moving students through the writing process, even meeting just for a couple minutes with each group to move them through. So that's an example for me where you've got a course maybe in what we would say the arts or the social sciences that really relies heavily on writing. In the sciences, it's exciting for me because it'd be wonderful, and again, I know it's just cost, but a lot of the learning, and where there's a lot of confusion when I took my courses in the natural science, there was a complete disconnect between what was happening in the lecture and the laboratory. And part of that was that the lectures were usually done in a large hallway with a faculty member, and the labs were done usually with graduate teaching assistants. And For various reasons, there was not clear communication between the faculty member and the teaching assistant, so there was a disconnect because the labs never seemed to connect with what we were doing in the lecture. They were either 2 weeks behind or 3 weeks ahead. And again, this is where I think blended learning really helps. It forces the communication between who's ever doing the lecture and the lab, but it also allows students to do meaningful practice between the session. And we've become so advanced, and there's so much open simulation software we can use that students can really practice meaningfully before they get into the laboratory time, so they're using the laboratory time much more effective. So I think in that case, it's students, again, it's similar in both cases that students are practicing what they're learning. In the English composition course, they're practicing their writing, whereas in the science, they're actually doing a lot of simulation, a lot of experiments, making mistakes, but nobody's blowing up. So that when they come in to actually do the lab, they're doing it in a much more meaningful and engaged way.
You know, I really love, he's so excited about learning, about offering this opportunity to our students, about being flexible and making sure that their learning is done effectively. That's what I really like about Norman Vaughn and some of the things I've seen by him. So we're going to close today, and I'd like to thank everyone for taking time out of their busy schedule to meet with me. And we are going to continue to develop this network of exceptional teachers at our district. It is by using this model of the community of inquiry that we can show our students what it is to be a lifelong learner and provide them with the best, most innovative opportunities that our district can provide. I believe we can reflect on this framework, excuse me, everyone, that we can reflect on this framework and we can design and implement lessons that will better prepare our students for the 21st century. So if you'd like to go out and review some of the information that I looked at, several of these articles, actually I found all of them with the exception of Garrison's book, and I have a copy of that and I would be willing to share that. You can find all those. I used InfoHio, again, cheerleader. Woo-hoo. Thank you for participating in this NELSD professional development. If you would like to submit a reflection on the topic for today's date, January 24th, 2015, for some district CEUs, which were provided with the cooperation of our administration, you can email me at either one of those email addresses, and let's keep the conversation going. Have a great day. If anybody has any questions, please feel free to contact me anytime.